This is salmon that was grown in a dish rather than in a salmon by a company in San Francisco.
Wait. This isn't real salmon?
No, those are salmon cells grown in the laboratory and then reconstituted to be like smoked salmon. Unfortunately, I couldn't taste it. I would love to taste it, but it's going to be part of the exhibit.
So, this exhibition is wild to me. Lab-grown salmon is just one of our recent attempts as humans to grow animal products without using animals. And this idea of separating food production from nature itself is one of the themes of an art and science installation in the PST Art exhibition Emergence that I visit in this episode. And I think once you hear about the centerpiece of this installation, you'll understand why I had to learn more about it. So they're mouse mammary cells.
Mammary, yeah,
like
from the
mammary,
teats of,
yeah.
of mice.
Yes, you heard that right. He is growing mouse mammary cells, or glands. And look, if you've been watching Becoming Artsy for a little while, you know that it's not uncommon for me to just be completely clueless about what I'm looking at. Like I'm gonna see it and I'm just not gonna get it. Or maybe I just don't understand what I'm supposed to get out of an artwork or an exhibition. Really? But I mean, that's the whole point of the show, right? To learn how to appreciate art a little bit better. But the point of this art, while it did pull me in with the pure fascination of synthetic biology, you said mouse mammary glands are gonna live there. It truly baffled me. So I asked Oron to start at the beginning.
My collaborator and myself have been working with living biological tissue as our art form since the mid-90s, so almost 30 years now. One of the things we've done was to grow meat in the lab back in the year 2000, so way before those companies started to think about it seriously. We did it as an art project, and not because we wanted to feed the world, but because, and this is I suppose where the art and science also come together in our work, our interest was always around how new knowledge about life is going to change our relationship to the concept of life. Basically what we're doing is we are using those book chapter titles to try and find objects that are relating to that and then try and see if we can find specimens that are trying to replace them.
On silk, on wool, on leather, on sponges are animals, right? Oh my God. On animal perfumes. I didn't know we made perfume out of animals.
Yeah, musk. Musk originally from animals, now it's artificial.
So we have alternatives for many animal products like sponges and musk, but also food alternatives like margarine for butter, pea protein burgers that simulate real meat, and most recently, a growing interest in growing meat in a laboratory.
So rather than kill a fish or a chicken or a cow, you'll be able to only grow those cells outside of the body, and by that remove the sentiency from the product that you are consuming, which sounds like a great idea, sounds like a very ethical idea.
In case you're not familiar with the word sentient, the Oxford Dictionary defines it as capable of sensation, conscious, or aware. A sentient being is an organism that is capable of feeling.
But then the question that we as artists are asking is like, what does it mean about us as a society, where we take the liberty of removing sentiency from other beings so we can not feel guilty consuming them?
Oh,
At the very same time, we start to see that technology is becoming more lifelike. So think about driverless cars, killer drones, a machine that would be at least seen to be sentient. You know, when you have conversation with ChatGPT, it seems like you actually talk to something which is sentient.
But you can't eat ChatGPT.
Exactly. That's a great idea. Point, what we see more and more is that there is attempts to remove sentiency from living biological beings.
It's like we want to make animals less sentient, but then artificial intelligence, like we want to make sentient. It's like a flip.
Yeah, exactly.
When I visited the final installation, I saw how everything came together. They weren't able to go through the whole process of growing the mouse mammary glands, but the idea was to show the potential of producing lab-grown mouse milk in a dish, something they saw demonstrated in a scientific paper and planned on reproducing in the gallery. And admittedly, this didn't look or feel like any of the art installations I'd ever seen.
There were no paintings or sculptures. It was just stuff from the real world. But what I was left with were all of these thoughts and feelings about the implications of taking away the sentiency of animals, of reducing our guilt by growing meat in the lab, by the growing separation of our food sources from the natural world. So I decided to talk to some people about it. Would you ever eat lab-grown meat? Do you think it's ethically better if we take away the sentiency of animals to eat them, to reduce our own guilt?
Probably. What about the environmental implication?
Grown in a lab just doesn't sound nice.
I would be curious, what are the unforeseen consequences?
You should be close to the animal. You should be reminded that you killed something.
So that's what I think.
What made you think of this?
I'm filming for an exhibition. This artist, he's putting together animal products to make people think and start a conversation.
And then something Oron said hit me.
Which we are, which it worked. It worked.
As artists, we want to engage in those questions in a fairly ambiguous way. We want to challenge the perception of the audience. We don't want to spoon-feed them with our opinions in regard to how they should think about it, but for them to be aware that something really strange is happening to life at the moment, or to the idea of life.
Even though Oron and Ionat's installation on animal products wasn't the kind of art that I'm used to seeing, I have learned over the years that art can come in many different forms. And in fact, I'm reading this book that my boss gave to our team called The Creative Act, and there was this quote that stuck out to me. What's considered art is simply an agreement. And that made me think about, what do we consider art and why? You might remember when somebody called this art. Or maybe you heard about this. It upset a lot of people. And even paintings like this have been considered blasphemous or dangerous. And it makes me think, what's so dangerous about a painting? Or a sculpture, or a play? If I were to come up with my own definition of art after interviewing Oron, I would say that art is a creative endeavor that encourages people to think. And maybe even think differently than how they're used to thinking. Art can really inspire people to engage in conversations about what it means to be human. This has changed my entire view on art. The next time I see an artwork or an exhibition where I think, this doesn't feel like art, or I don't get it, I feel so inspired to take a step back and really think about, well, what's under the surface? And that's really exciting. Thank you so much for watching Becoming Artsy. This is my art, so I really appreciate your support and liking, commenting, subscribing. If this episode brought up anything for you, I would love to hear about it and talk to you about it in the comments.